always been passionate about travel. Ever since I was 5, I was determined to travel the world. So when I came here as a transfer student, I knew the first thing on my bucket list was to study abroad. And so I did it. I did it my first semester. So it was a check off of my bucket list, and it was amazing.
I never really thought it was a possibility for me because of my disability. And then my first year here, I witnessed 2 friends with disabilities able to go abroad, and then I knew that that was something that I had to do before I graduated, because the thought of just like going across the country and experiencing new things and new cultures and new food was just really exciting to me.
The philosophical underpinning of DRES is that we continue to strive to go above and beyond what the law requires in terms of service provision to college students with disabilities. On our campus, one of the University of Illinois student experiences is to study abroad. We have one of the top programs in terms of size and offerings of study abroad. And so that next logical step in my mind was that we look at how can we best collaborate with study abroad to make things more accessible for registered DRES students.
So the entire nature of the study abroad program that I did was adventure tourism, right? And just that in itself kind of like makes me like cringe, because like a lot of that is activities I can't do, like hiking and you know, going on rough trails and different things that don't seem accessible at the start, right? And so initially I was hesitant to even pursue it because I thought it would probably be impossible. And to be honest, I didn't even think it was going to be possible until a couple months before I left for New Zealand.
The most daunting part of the experience for me was getting on a plane, for sure, even though that might seem like one of the more simple aspects of going abroad. But for me, I had heard lots of stories about wheelchairs being damaged on flights, or just flights going bad traveling with medical equipment. And so my biggest concern was whether I would get to France and my chair would even be operational.
Because we planned so much before the trip, I would say 80 or 90% of it was accessible and stuff that I could do. And so all the accommodations we had were accessible. The transportation from city to city, town to town was accessible. And then the activities that they said were going to be accessible actually ended up being accessible. Dr. Welty-Peachy told the group that they were able to go on my activities as well if they wanted to switch. And so always a couple of my peers came with me on those activities. So it wasn't just me by myself or me with the tourism operator. There was, you know, always 4 or 5 people there. So I think I got lucky with the type of group that came on that trip, because they were very, very helpful, very understanding of my situation, and wanted me to experience as much as I could.
I would highly encourage any other student with a disability looking to study abroad to do it. It was one of the best experiences of my life.
Just go for it, and you know, if there's a will, there's definitely a way. Traveling, it really changes you, and you see a whole nother world and experience something beautiful.
Initially, you might not be able to think you can go, but if you really pursue it and work with the right people, anything's possible, really. And it would be really worth it, even though it will be very difficult at times. And at times it'll be like, why am I doing this? Why am I stuck in the mud, and, you know, 8,000 miles away when I could be home? But by the end of it, it's so worth it.